Ayhan Isaacs, Growth Rhino.
My first job, I was 26 at that time, was I was given a phone and to do 500 cold calls a week. If I take anybody now and tell them call, they're going to be like, what? From one client to another. It's like, oh, this person wants 1, 2, 3. I'll do that for 10 minutes and do something else, right? That context switching for a lot of individuals is very, very hard. I think there's no employment, there's no jobs, right? You have to go and create your own job, right?
What's your ideal customer profile like, and what's the type of project?
It's a B2B software company that's raised their pre-seed or seed round, and maybe they have 5 to 10 customers, and they want to get their next 10 to 20 or 30 customers.
But what's your point on early stage startups, whether they need to build team?
Your expectation from your investors is for you to grow 10 to 20% month over month. But if you're a bootstrap company, and if I don't want to take on the overhead of managing other people, so like you got to make sure your information diet is good.
Philosophy of building business then. Go small, test it, do it even as a service. Be a service company, and then you can become a tech startup.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Connecting Dots with Oriol Plana, proudly sponsored by Mr. Alfred, the leading property and revenue management system for vacation rentals.
Welcome to a new episode of Connecting Dots with Oriol Plana. Today we have a special episode. We don't have anyone from Holy Homes or real estate, but we have someone from technology and startups. So welcome to the show, Ayhan Isaacs, who is the founder and CEO of Growth Rhino. Growth Rhino?
Yeah, Growth Rhino.
My Spanish pronunciation.
No,
which is a leading go-to-market consulting firm. And we were connected because we were together in the Orasea Sandbox program. We did some sessions. Well, he did some sessions for us, for Mr. Alfred. And we thought that for our audience would be very good to learn about go-to-market, what tech startups do, and what the short-term rental, even the real estate companies can adopt from these go-to-market strategies for the tech startups. So welcome to the show.
thanks for having me.
If you can introduce yourself a little bit more, explain what's your journey, what's Growth Rhino.
Yeah, sure. I'll start maybe from the beginning, but hey everyone, my name is Ayhan Isaacs. I'm the founder of Growth Rhino. Originally Pakistani, grew up in Dubai, spent quite some time here. Moved to Canada in 2016, got into the whole startup and tech scene there. Tried to do my own startup, didn't really work out, but ended up joining a bunch of other early stage companies, in their sales and marketing departments. Got to learn a little bit more of the trade there and all the different tactics, everything from being an SDR cold calling to looking at different transcripts on intercom and building out journeys. Did that for a few years, got into the consulting route, and then ended up launching the agency just short of like maybe 2018, 2019, and then moved back to Dubai. So yeah, glad to be here.
So what's from everything you explain, what do you like about sales marketing? Why did you, sometimes it's just by chance, but why did you choose this career path?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So when I was in Dubai, I was in my family business, which is in oil and gas. And that was very focused, I would say, more on the operations side, right? And then when I went to go do my own business, I just struggled heavily with the sales and marketing aspects of it, right? And I think that was probably one of the reasons that particular business was failing. I was trying to build an ed tech platform, right? And I was coming at it to maybe to in a very easy manner, right? But it was like, okay, I lacked certain sales and marketing acumen. So I went out to the market to go learn that. And then when I started to learn that, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And I think also while I was in market, I realized that there's just so much information out there, and there's a lot of let's say wrong information as well. And then there's also different hiring practices. It was such a big delta in the market where they're like, okay, I thought sales and marketing is going to look like this, but it's very, very different, right? And the industry has changed significantly over the last, if we look at the last 10 years, all the stuff that's happened is just, it changes every year, right? I'm sure we'll talk more about that during the show, but when I first started, my first job, I was 26 at that time, was I was given a phone and to do 500 cold calls a week. And you're like, okay, cool. And that was the industry norm, right? If I take anybody now and tell them and I'll give them a phone and be like, here's a list of call, they're going to be like, what? This is not normal, right?
Unfortunately, I think in the real estate industry, I think that's still a common practice.
Yeah, I get realtor calls as well, but they're very first they're so bad, right? I think a lot of them are just doing it to kind of hit their daily activity number or whichever. But I'm not by no means am I saying cold calling is bad, right? It's still a very effective tactic, but I think it just needs to be structured. So just the industry's changed so much, right? We have an access amount of data that a lot of people need to leverage and utilize, right? Which wasn't there 5-10 years ago, right? Like I would be calling people because their name is on a list. Like your realtors are calling me or you because your name is on a list that says, hey, you've purchased something or whichever. It at least has some relevance or something, right? There's been some
Filtration.
yeah, exactly. My lists were just like, here's a list, and I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. Like, I don't like it's like, hey, you're the CMO of this company. Let me call you, try to sell you email marketing software, right? So it's a very different landscape. So yeah, like I've just been in this space, and yeah, because it's changed so much, I've stayed up to date with it, and I do genuinely enjoy it, right?
So and when you decided to leave the industry or as an employee, and you decided to start Growth Rhino, what do you think were the decision making? What was the decision making process? Is because you wanted to be an entrepreneur and be owner of your own company or life, or because you saw so many, as you said, so many gaps, or for you it was not done well enough that you wanted to improve the industry?
Yeah, I think this is a tough one because we talk a lot about entrepreneurship in different ways. I think it's a buildup of a few different things. You know, for me personally, what happened was I was in the job doing my 500 dials and all that, but I saw the company was going. It was starting to decline. You know, typical startup, like they fired. I had 3 people above me. They fired all 3 people above me, and I was like, "What's gonna happen to me?" Right? So I was like, I knew that something was happening, and then I resigned, and after I resigned, they announced they were getting acquired, right? So for me at that time, I was like, okay, fine. I've developed these skill sets. I never want to be kind of dependent on just one income stream, right? That's like, I think that's a very high risk. So I was like, can I go and pick up smaller contracts, right? And I picked up one contract that paid me like $1,000, another one that would pay me 500, whichever. So I'm like, okay, as a freelancer, I can pick up 3-4 contracts, which is great. But then how do you kind of like scale beyond it so that I am not directly involved with execution? And then it's like, okay, can I build a small mini agency out of it, right? And then, that's how it organically happened. But I never woke up one day and be like, okay, I'm going to quit everything and jump into this cold world of entrepreneurship, right? My exposure to entrepreneurship has been significantly different because I grew up with it, right? Like my father runs his own business. My mom also, she's been part of bigger organizations, but within that, she had to set up different initiatives. So I've always kind of been around it, right? Same, and then other members of our family. So, like for me, it was not as I would say unknown, right? Versus I know some people who are like their parents have been working 9 to 5, they're working 9 to 5. All their friends work 9 to 5. So for them, entrepreneurship is a very scary um, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and they'll never touch it because they're just so risk averse, right? So
And that's a very good point. So an entrepreneur is made or is born?
I don't know, man.
I think it's a
Uh,
combination, bro.
yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think it's
I think if you see it at home a lot,
yeah.
you have it.
I think there has to be a trigger moment, right? For me, my trigger moment was that kind of like, hey, I'm about to get fired. I might as well resign and pick up a few contracts, right? And that happened to me when I was like 27, 28, right? For some people, it happens at 18. For some people, it happens when they're 45. Like, I don't know.
You were in Dubai?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Because that's another element. So what you're saying is extremely, I resonate. It resonates with me a lot. Because for me, starting up a company is about the risk also, no? And in Dubai, for example, I became an entrepreneur when I was single, and obviously without kids, right?
Hmm.
But if like fast forward, if you have kids
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Your the chances of being entrepreneur or the options or your willingness, no, it drops because
Yeah.
the risk that you have, the cost of opportunity, right? And in Dubai, it happens the same. Dubai cost of living is very high. For example, I come from Barcelona. In Barcelona, the cost of living is low.
Yeah.
If you can live with
Oh.
parents, you have a lot of network around you that can.
Yeah.
Here, no. Here you.
Oh, yeah.
You were born here, okay.
I was born in Pakistan, but I came here when I was a kid. Yeah.
But probably you have the family here that you could live in their house for a while, where you were an entrepreneur. But if you are here, let's say, come from abroad, it's so difficult to say I quit my job as a corporate with probably a security, safety, salary, to be an entrepreneur. So.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I think the way I've been thinking a lot about this, because it comes up in different conversation, is like, really think about entrepreneurship as a muscle, right? And how you work and all that type of stuff. It's something you need to start slowly. You can start when you're doing part-time and you slowly build up to it, right? Like, I'll give you one example. For me right now, I'm very, well, when I'm in work mode, right? It's very easy for me to switch my level of thinking from one client to another. It's like, oh, this person wants 1, 2, 3. Okay, then, and I'll do that for 10 minutes, then do something else, right? That context switching for a lot of individuals is very, very hard. If you come from the world of agency, you know this very well, right? If you work in a marketing agency, you work on 10 different clients, right? But that context switching gets very hard. But because I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, it's become very natural, right? So the same thing with a lot of things with anything entrepreneurial, like, oh, cash flow is down. Okay, fine. Well, once you tell me something different, once you've gone through maybe 6 cash flow crunches, you're like, okay, cash flow is down, right? Okay, cool. We'll figure it out, right? Like, it's just something that becomes so natural to you, right? The first time, like, oh my God, cash flow is down. What's going to happen? Or am I going to, and how do I refinance this? And like, your head goes all over the place, but you're like, oh, okay, cool. So I think that's where a lot of people are probably also, they get into one of these episodes and they're like, oh my God, like shit's hitting the fan and I got a dip, right? But it's like, oh, okay, fine. Like once you start to develop this muscle and you're like, you know how to develop this experience, like, okay, fine. Like another very, very common one that you will face, you probably have faced, is like when a team member leaves, right? Or when a team member quits, or when you have to fire someone. How does that impact your business? And I heard this from a lady who's building her startup. She's much younger than me. I think she's like 23, 24. And she said something very interesting. It's like, when you're a team of 5 and one person leave, 20% of your workforce just left. Right? Which is very different when you're a very big company, right? So it's again, you just have to get better at like absorbing that and retraining yourself and all that. And now I feel like if you've done that long enough and you've lived in this volatile market, you become really used to it, right?
Let's take a moment to thank Mr. Alfred, our sponsor. They're not just a property management system. They're a comprehensive solution for vacation rentals, offering everything from dynamic pricing to efficient marketing. Their intuitive platform simplifies operations so you can focus on growth. Excitingly, Mr. Alfred now offers a free light version, including a channel manager with connections to over 60 OTAs. To learn more and to start streamlining your rental business, visit MrAlfred.com today.
And another trend, we touched a lot of points here, very interesting ones. So 2 things, no? So I sometimes mentor like groups of very young entrepreneurs, and there is this image or idea of doing the next unicorn, right? And I've seen like ideas, no, amazing ideas, and they think that with an idea they can do anything, no? And that for me it's one of the problems also of this hype around tech startups, right? That idea is almost nothing, and then it comes the other, which what you did, we did, that is being an entrepreneur after probably doing in your case, you were freelancing or things that don't scale. I think it's Paul Graham, no, that say that with the Airbnb. Do things that don't scale first until you are ready to scale. And I think for me, I like this philosophy of building business then. To go small, test it, do it even as a service, be a service company, and then you can become a tech startup.
That's how most of it's customer development 101, right? It's being iterative and learning.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I think a lot of people get infatuated. Well, there's two with the younger generation, right? Like, I guess, what do they call Gen Z, Gen X, or whatever? That
No, it's not my gen.
yeah, I'm considered millennials, whatever the
I
generation.
think I'm the end of millennial. So well, at the beginning. Like,
Yeah. So with that generation, the issue is, one, they see a lot of the people around them, and they see like crypto or whatever, and then they're like, oh, I want to do that. And the second element is like, they don't even have, there's no employment, there's no jobs, right? You have to go and create your own job, right?
Exactly.
Like I saw this clip of I can't remember her name, really, really cool. This lady just graduated, and she wanted to become an intern at Shopify, a marketing intern. She literally made a video, put it on Twitter, and tagged the CEO of Shopify, or the CEO, and it was a really good video. It was well edited. It tells her about her qualifications. She's been interviewing a lot of entrepreneurship students for 3-4 years. So it was like kind of like her 3-4 years of experience as a student, and like why she really wanted to become an intern at Shopify. There was no position for that. Shopify went and created that position within 24 hours and gave her a contract, and it became viral on social media. So like, I think for a lot of, that generation, like incoming students, 50-60% of them have to explore entrepreneurship, because the reality is there's not enough employment out there, right? They need to go and figure things out for themselves. And if they go down this path, within like, I don't know, a few years, they'll get picked up by a bigger firm or whichever, because the bigger firms only want to work with the best, right? But the reality is, if I want to go and hire someone for like a digital marketing position, right, or whatever, there's a plethora amount of talent out there, right? So I can be extremely picky. But I want to pick the best. So for you to be the best, you need to articulate that. You need to go get your own clients, and you need to take a lot of initiative, right? Those days of just showing up with a degree and getting a job are gone, right? Way, way gone.
And now it's global also, talent and the company.
Yeah.
So you're not competing for your city or town. You're competing with people from everywhere.
Yeah, like at
On
Growth
both
Rhino,
sides, in the company side and in the talent side.
on Growth Rhino, we have staff from Mexico, Bulgaria, Philippines, the US. We had other people before who at other organizations I've been working with, like from Tunisia, Lebanon, like, and I'm based here in Dubai. So like, it doesn't matter anymore. The like, you have, like you said, there's talent all over, right? And depending on your budget, you can tap into that for affordability, right?
Perfect. So now that you describe a little bit your your colleagues and the team members, let's dig deeper in Growth Rhino. So explain us a bit what's Growth Rhino, what do you do, and what's your expertise?
Yeah, so Growth Rhino right now is positioned as a go-to-market agency. We work with, I would say, early stage B2B software companies to plan out their initial go-to-market motion. That could be a mixture of inbound or outbound activities. When I first started the agency, we were just a cold email agency for B2B software companies. And that market has completely changed. Like, the world of cold email outreach has kind of gone downhill. So you have to be very creative, and now you have to tie your messaging with a bunch of other different inbound and outbound activities. So we take a multi-channel approach. So we're like, okay, fine, what do you want to achieve? What are the KPIs? What are the goals you want to do? And then we put a whole plan around it and help you execute it. But also, more importantly, I work with a lot of early stage companies where they have an idea of who their ideal customer persona is. And like, most of the time it's wrong. When we start doing this and we start running a lot of experiments, and we start going to the market and seeing, okay, fine, like what makes sense, we start to craft a different persona, and we're like, okay, this is actually the type of persona we need to be going after, because they're the ones that are willing to give you money for your product, right? So we're a small team. It's about 7-8 people. I mainly lead strategy and client management, and then we have a team to help run the execution, right?
So for our audience to understand, then what's your ideal customer profile like, and what's the type of project? So like, you describe your client, but how long does it take? Do you work? The company needs to have a marketing team, or you become their marketing team, or strategy, or
it really depends on the company, but at a very high level, it's like ideally it's a B2B software company that's raised their pre-seed or seed round, and maybe they have 5 to 10 customers, and they want to get their next 10 to 20 or 30 customers, right? So we're coming in there and architecturing that whole engine and trying to, there's this notion I talk my workshops and some stuff for the notion of predictability and scalability. Is this a revenue engine that can scale, right? That's typically when we come in to help you figure that out. Our engagements are anywhere between 9 to 12 months. This is the interesting thing about the agencies. If we do a good job, they'll raise venture capital and then they'll internalize the role, right? If we do a bad
You
job,
lose the client.
if we do a bad job, they'll leave in 3 months, right? So, and that it took me some time to like realize what's our ideal thing. So an ideal engagement for us is about 6 to 9 months. We come in, we help, we set up the architecture, and then we hand off, right?
And there is a debate. I mean, you touched this point about internalizing and using an agency. So I mean, I know you're biased, but what's your point on early stage startups, whether they need to build team?
I think, again, I think it depends. If you're venture funded, like I talked about this earlier off off screen, but like if you're venture funded, it's a different game, right? Like, your expectation from your investors is for you to grow 10 to 20% month over month, right? And you cannot do that alone with an agency, because it's going to, you need to internalize those efforts at one point, because you have company culture, you need full-time resources. There's just too many dynamics, right? Like I've seen it time after time, right? Like if you're a venture funded company, you typically use an agency just to understand like as a sandbox environment. Is this a good channel? Okay, what's the playbook? Okay, can I internalize it? Because you have the capital to do it. And also that's the expectation of your investors and your expectations of any leadership. It's like, how are you going to grow? The second you walk into that boardroom, it's like, we're going to grow because we have an external agency, they're like, what? Like, just build your own team internally, right? But if you're a bootstrap company and if you're much smaller and you're like, I don't want to take on the overhead of managing other people, then you can keep it external and have an agency. Because if you think about a venture funded company, they already have a project manager, they have a HR manager, they have all the infrastructure to do that, right? So in short, if you're a venture funded company, you'll eventually internalize it, right? And then if you're a small business or bootstrap, then you'll keep it external.
And for anyone from our audience that are thinking of doing something like this, engaging with you or with any other agency, what's the size of the budget that they need to have to succeed? Because I guess it's your fees, but also the spend in marketing, no?
Yeah. So we tell people like, carve out around between 5 to 8 grand a month, right? At minimum. But it also depends if they're doing
Dollars.
USD per month, because it depends also, like, we're not taking that as fees, right? There's, like you said, there's spend. Before, outbound was very, very cheap, right? Not to go down this rabbit hole, but like it was really cheap to do outbound. You had a bunch of players do this because you can buy data for very cheap. You can set up a cold outreach infrastructure for very cheap and all that, right? So within like $400 or $500, you'll do that. Now, because the way things are, you probably have to spend closer to $1,000 on data. And it's not that you're just getting like first name, last name, email. What you're doing is you're getting first name, last name, email, and then you're sending an AI agent to go and enrich. Okay, did this person post on LinkedIn? Okay, what was those posts? Summarize it. Take those summary, put it in the first sentence. Okay, take that and now qualify it and build a use case unique for me. So you have all this stuff that's happening in the background, and it's really cool you can do that, but it's very expensive. So the cost to operate now is significantly higher, right? Especially because if you're using all these tools and stuff. So I tell people, like, if you can carve out 5 to 7 grand per month, and like, using an agency like ours is not a good fit, and just go and learn everything you can on YouTube. And then you can bring, like, if you don't have to pay our fees and stuff, you can easily bring it down to like $1,000 or $2,000 a month, right? Depending on what you're doing, right? There's enough tools out there that can help you do self-service as well. But like again, it depends if the founders have time or whoever has time. Most of the time they're lazy. So they don't want to do it themselves.
But also as a and now I'm trying to be here the devil advocate, but as a startup that's trying to get funded by VCs, sometimes VCs don't like that you don't have this key resource, which is marketing in-house. No?
Yeah, eventually you that's what I'm saying. If you're being venture funded, you need to internalize it.
Yeah, but but post funding. So how right? So you internalize after funding. So how do your clients approach funding without having an internal team of?
Well, most of them, because of our fees and stuff, they'll probably come to us when they've just raised. No, they're not pre-revenue, right? Because then it doesn't. The challenge with us is that, like, we're good at architecting the whole engine, I would say. But if you don't have product market fit as a company, there's nothing I can do, right? And we're not product marketers. Product market fit is ultimately defined. If I go to the market and offer your company and let's say your value proposition, like, that market should accept it. Sometimes people hire us just to test the market. Like, hey, we're thinking about building this SaaS product that does 1, 2, 3. And we'll do like a quick engagement for like 3 months, where we just take that and we go to market and we just test the messaging, and then we say, okay, fine, like, nobody actually cares about this. You should probably not build this. But like, we used to do that more. We don't do that as common as we used to, because a lot of time people are who will ask their network and get validation pretty fast, right? Most of the time we get involved when they've received funding. Now, like, we've gone a bit more upmarket.
So today we are in a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment operated and managed by Guest, one of the main clients of Mr. Alfred. Go to mralfred.travel to book this apartment and many others in our portfolio. And so let's now move a little bit to our industry, short-term rentals. I would like to focus on short-term rentals, because real estate is a quite mature market, old-fashioned in my opinion, mature, so they can continue doing the strategic one.
Yeah.
But short-term rentals, I mean, a little bit. I mean, we spoke about it. You have some exposure. So to put some context, right? So we have, as a short-term rental company, you have the landlords, the owners, which is the like in this apartment, the owner of the apartment where we are recording, right? So the short-term rental company needs to acquire this landlord and bring it into the portfolio. This can be called sales, or we sometimes call it business development, right? Because it's growing your business. And then you have the guest side, which is what you can get it through Airbnb and Booking.com, what we call it sales channels, or you can get them direct, which is a topic that we discussed in the last podcast, how to increase your direct bookings. A lot of also talk. I don't know if you read that Airbnb released an update 3 weeks ago. And now it's like putting it very difficult for short-term rental companies to have direct contact with the guest. So they're penalizing trying to build your own CRM or your own database of guests and try to approach them separately and everything. So Airbnb and there is a lot of talks in the industry of trying to diversify your sales channels, move out from Airbnb. Booking.com is starting to get better reputation. So it's an interesting shift, and try to build your own direct channel, even though it's more expensive, but in the long term, obviously you save the commissions of Airbnb and Booking.com, but also it reduces the risk, the supplier risk, no? In the end, the channel risk, sure. Because if Airbnb, someone very famous here in Dubai got canceled of Airbnb recently, and you might lose 50% of your revenue in one hour, no? So with all this context, I think, based on your experience and what you do, the B2B is more the landlord side, right? The other is more B2C, consumer.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment on both. Like, I work with
So how can a holiday homes company approach landlord
acquisition?
Yeah. And implement your tactics, your strategy in that. I mean, if you can have.
Yeah, but so with landlord acquisition, for the most part, I would say I would consider still that to be B2C, because it's still very personal. You're going to land, unless it's owned by a company and stuff like that, right? But most of the time, like, you have to look at it from the landlord's perspective, where they're like, okay, so tell me, like, what is their goals and motivation, right? I would make an assumption that for most of the time, the landlords, all they care is about the ROI, or at least making sure that the mortgage is paid, or if it's on a payment plan or whatever. Or they don't have one. And then the other one could be around flexibility. So taking that into consideration, you're like, okay, I'm going after a subset of interested individuals. I'm not going after everyone, because there's some people who just want to buy, put it on rent, make sure the mortgage is there, hold it for 5 years and flip it. that like the holiday home model doesn't fit them because it's too risk and like it's just too much, like pulling teeth out, right? So in that notion, you're like, okay, now I've identified this subset of landlords, how to actually go and kind of market towards them and acquire them, right? And I really like you have to take a playbook from the real estate agents. It is relationships, it is a ridiculous amount of networking, but it's also making sure that you are putting yourself out there. Like, and there's a lot, like all the successful agents I've seen, whether it's in the holiday home space or whether it's in just the real estate space, commercial or residential, they've done a great job of putting themselves out there on content, right? Like it's content stuff that you're also very much active on doing. But um but that content needs to be about like really educating them as much as possible on the industry, right? Telling them about the upside, but also telling them a little bit about the downside and like where's the actual value that's there. And then naturally that those are the people that you will attract, right? But what I see a lot of, whether it's real estate agents or holiday home companies, is that they're just really bad of having some sort of digital presence. Like, like I get it. The content stuff is exhaustive. It's a lot of work. Um, but if you're able to have a decent online presence, I think that also goes a long way. The other thing which I see is really like maybe it's only in Dubai, it's specific, but the language and cultural affiliation, right? Like I've seen some realtors and holiday home companies only win landlords because they're of the same ethnicity, right? You only win Indian clients because you're an Indian holiday home company and you understand the culture nuances. Same thing with Russian, same thing with maybe Spanish, whichever. And like, even if we take that content element and if you just, imagine if you start creating holiday home content in Spanish, you're attracting the Spanish landlords
Yeah.
right? So like, that's just one small thing a person can do that they're probably already doing. They're like, oh, okay, they can uncover a whole other market. I'll give you one example. I have a buddy. I caught up with him like, hey, how's it going and this and that. He's like, yeah, I've started a real estate company. I'm like, dude, there's like 40,000 real. Like, why are you starting another real estate company? He's like, the market is hot. We're like, okay, we know the market is hot. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, all he's doing, I kid you not, is he's advertising golden visa to like different like smaller areas in India, which are not getting hit, but all targeting high net worth individuals. And all those leads they're generating and they're going to his real estate agent. That's it. He's just doing heavy lead gen, Facebook ads, lead gen, boom, 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 and targeting those people. He's getting like something like 20 leads a day, right? And because there's so much demand for something like that, right?
Well, that's a very good point. So, but how do you balance? Let's go back to this example, yeah, or the Indian for Indians, or
Yeah.
how do you can you do different strategies in the same company, or do you need different brands? You need different.
But you'll see a lot of the real estate agents, agency and companies and stuff, like look how diverse their workforce is. But if you look at their workforce, like they're bringing each person's typically bringing a typical clientele, right? Like,
Yeah, so they segment based on the agent themselves, like
yeah,
personal brand or
yeah, because their branding and their comfort is going to be there, right? Like you'll see Chinese with Chinese, Pakistanis with Pakistanis, Indians with Indians, and that's not like, it's not a bad thing, right? It's just how it's the personal side of it, right? Like people want a realtor that they can relate to and resonate with, right? And if that's how
you buy to the person. No, that's something I heard
Yeah.
many times. No, you
Yeah.
you buy to a person, even
Yeah.
though
yeah,
trust and
I totally agree with that. It's totally like, it is very like
Mm.
one to one, right? And it's very there has to be a certain level of resonance, right? So
and if you could give an ABC of tools or processes that you say, hey, look, this company is starting, is new. Uh, how they can start? Because probably a lot of small companies don't buy. I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but it's like the most atomized market in the world in terms of holiday homes companies. We have like more than 40,000 units, and there is no company north of 1,000 units. So it's extremely atomized, the market. So
you're saying if I'm signing up as a holiday home company in Dubai, what should I do?
yeah, or a company that has maybe, as I said, 3, 4, 5 employees, they manage 10, 15 units. What do they need to do to scale? Like tools, people, processes, and which ones, which tools, which
I think, look, if you're starting out in a holiday home company in Dubai, um, the main thing is it's landlord acquisition. It has to be top of mind, right? So one is really getting a good hold of yourself to make sure that you know the ins and outs of to prove ROI on a unit, and making sure that's being communicated, right? And then going hard on just going hard on the content creation side, whether it's on whatever platform you like, will really, really help. And just doing a ridiculous amount of networking, right? That's how you're going to end up winning your business. If you're asking about tools and stuff, like, you'll be surprised, even just making sure like having a decent website that's decently SEO optimized, which you can go to Fiverr and hire someone for like $50 for. A lot of people have not done, right? So you can just go and do that, and that will already make a world of a difference, right? So one is just very, very like digital presence, and then just because, like you said, there's just so much um education required in the industry. Like, oh, you need tourism fees. Oh, you need to check in, check out. There's a lot of this stuff which is very unique to this market. So the more localized knowledge you have, even better. And then, if you want to take a step further, localized knowledge in a different language, even like way, way more competitive, right? So that's the way I would kind of position it. And then just make sure that you have there. The second thing is making partners with realtors, right?
Yeah.
Because that is going to be a big loop. And you don't need how many realtors in Dubai? You probably like one for like thousands, right? So
Tens of thousands.
like they're all publicly available. You can go to the Dubai land department, pull a list of realtors, and find if you want to do the ethnicity play, do the ethnicity play, right? Find ones that are from smaller brokerage houses and make I would make 20, 30 different partners. Tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you refer someone, give you a cut. I would make sure I have a decent digital online presence, and I would just go hard on educational content to make sure to educate the any prospects around the ROI and the benefits of holiday homing, right? Because the reality is, you have, like you said, there's a lot of holiday home companies, but how many of them do you know are actually doing it properly, doing it well, right? Or just they're not even organized, right? They're all over the place, right? And there are a lot of people doing a thing. And then if you're talking a layer further, it's I just have the fact that a holiday home company can offer multiple upsells, right? Okay, you're coming into Dubai for a week. Okay, do you need a car? Okay, do you need access to laundry facility? Well, over here you have a laundry, but
it's food delivery or
we need access
chef. Some people want a chef.
Yeah, do you need access to this? Do you need okay, what else? You can bundle all this stuff, so your perceived value is significantly higher, and then you can get the referral, because the name of the game here is referrals. Oh, I went to Dubai where I used this holiday home company. It was great. You should really use them, right? So when you bundle and package this stuff, and then you can, if you're starting to do all that stuff, then you can do more. I'm assuming you can do more direct stuff as well, right? Because being dependent on the platforms is not a healthy thing to do, right? So
Okay, amazing. I think we got a lot of tips here. I'm sure, summarize. Okay, so I think we're reaching to an end. Time flew.
Yeah.
I ask us last question, which is, where do you seek inspiration? Do you read books, podcasts?
So
And if you can recommend any couple.
yeah, mine's a bit different because it's a bit more industry knowledge. But when I first started, if I go back a little bit on the entrepreneurship side, I got really, really into books and podcasts. That was really my go-to. Big fan of Malcolm Gladwell. I like his book, The Tipping Point. There's another really good book that really changed the way how I perceived it. It's by Franz Johannesson. It's called The Medici Effect. We're highly recommended. So that stuff really opened up to my my mind till it was the world of entrepreneurship and stuff. I like also autobiographies as well. Richard Branson autobiography is also a really good one. And then for podcasts, there's different ones, but the one that Sam Parr runs with, I forgot the guy's name, but it's something called My First Million. Really, really good one as well there. And then not so much on podcasts anymore, but I do a lot of short reading on like LinkedIn articles and all that other stuff. And there's like, and I tell this for any person in industry. So my industry is like go to market and stuff. There's not a lot of like people in that space. Like there's a lot of like noise, but there's thought leaders. There's been like 5 or 10. So like I followed those 5 or 10. Like there's one guy called Sam Jacobs from Pavilion. He's been a CRO.
They have a podcast also, I think. Pavilion.
Yeah.
Three guys. I think.
Yeah, they have something. I can't remember the name, right? So I follow him. There's another guy called Yako from Winning by Design. I follow him. There's a great guy from copywriting called Pep Laha from Winter or CXL. I follow him. So like I kind of built a very curated list. I heard this thing. I can't remember where I heard it from, but there's something called an information diet. So like you got to make sure your information diet is good. Okay, so your information diet, just choose your 5 to 10 thought leaders in your industry or something you want to learn about for that time period and just keep following them and go deep. And like don't follow the noise where it's just like usually focus like, oh, especially here in Dubai, there's a lot of like noise for different things. So don't follow that. Like follow people who are actually giving genuine stuff, right?
Very good. So let's see if we can help companies to improve the industry, improve the go-to-market, because I think it's a huge challenge here in Dubai, especially with so much competition.
Yeah. Competition isn't bad though. It's validation, right?
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the time.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Connecting Dots with Oriol Plana, proudly sponsored by Mr. Alfred, the leading property and revenue management system for vacation rentals.